you're trapped. Right now, in this exact moment, invisible chains bind you. You don't see them because you were taught to call them love, duty, connection, but they're chains nonetheless. Every time you check your phone for validation, you tighten the shackles. Every time you shape your words to avoid conflict, you surrender another piece of your sovereignty. Every time you feel that hollow ache when someone doesn't respond the way you hoped, you prove that you are not free. You are a prisoner of expectations, a slave to emotions, a beggar for validation. And the cruelest part? You built this cage yourself. Society handed you the blueprint. Your parents laid the foundation. Your friends reinforced the bars. And you, desperate to belong, desperate to be loved, desperate to matter, locked yourself inside and threw away the key. But here's the truth. They never wanted you to discover. Asterisk the moment you stop needing anything from anyone, you become untouchable. This is not a lesson in becoming cold. This is a lesson in becoming asterisk-free. Machiavelli understood what you're only beginning to see, that emotional dependency is the greatest weakness a human can possess, that he who needs nothing controls everything, that true power lives in the space between stimulus and response, where weak men react and strong men decide. Today you learn to detach, not to destroy, to liberate. Before we continue, if this truth resonates in your bones, press that like button. Subscribe to this channel, because what comes next will separate you from the herd permanently. I want you to think about the last time you were disappointed by someone. Maybe they didn't text back. Maybe they forgot something important. Maybe they chose someone else over you. Remember how it felt? That sinking sensation in your chest? That spiral of questions. What did I do wrong? Am I not enough? Why don't they care? Now imagine this. What if you felt nothing? Not bitterness, not numbness, just complete, sovereign indifference. What if their choices had zero power over your internal state? What if you could watch them walk away and feel the same calm you feel when a stranger passes you on the street? That's not psychopathy, that's asterisk freedom. And it's exactly where we're going. Niccolo Machiavelli wrote that men are moved by two principal motives, fear and love. But he also warned that depending on the love of others makes you vulnerable, while being feared grants you control. He understood a principle that destroys weak men and elevates strong ones. Asterisk your emotional investment in others is a liability they will exploit. Machiavelli observed that the prince who needs his subjects to adore him will be manipulated by that need. The ruler who craves approval will make decisions based on popularity rather than effectiveness. The leader who cannot detach from others' opinions will be controlled by those opinions. He wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." But the deeper truth is this: it is better to asterisk need neither than to depend on either. When you detach from expectations, emotions, and validation, you stop being a player in someone else's game. You become the architect of your own reality. This is not cruelty. This is asterisk strategy. 1. Understand that expectations are premeditated resentments. Asterisk, the brutal truth. Asterisk, every expectation you hold is a future disappointment you're scheduling. Weak people create elaborate fantasies about how others should behave. They write scripts in their minds where people say the right things, show up on time, remember what matters, reciprocate effort. Then reality unfolds differently and they crumble. Asterisk, why weak people fail. Asterisk, they believe the world owes them consistency. They think their investment entitles them to returns. They operate like emotional investors who never learned that markets crash. Asterisk what Machiavelli would advise. Access nothing, prepare for everything. Base your plans on what people have done, not what they've promised. Judge men by their patterns, not their potential. You help a friend repeatedly. You expect reciprocation. When crisis hits and they vanish, you feel betrayed. But you were never betrayed. You simply expected loyalty from someone who never demonstrated it. Stop creating debts in your mind that others never agreed to pay. Release people from obligations they never accepted. Watch them as they are, not as you need them to be. When you expect nothing, disappointment becomes impossible. Type this affirmation in the comments section. I release all expectations and reclaim my peace. 2. Realize that emotions are data, not directives. The brutal truth. Your feelings are signals, not commands. They provide information, but they don't get to make decisions. Weak people are governed by their emotional states. Angry, they lash out. Sad, they withdraw. Anxious, they spiral. Their emotions are tyrants, and they are obedient subjects. Why weak people fail. They believe authenticity means surrendering to every emotional impulse. They confuse feeling something with being required to act on it. They're passengers in their own lives. What Machiavelli would advise. Observe your emotions like a general observes the battlefield. Note the terrain, but don't let terrain dictate strategy. Feel what you feel, then decide what serves your objectives. Someone disrespects you. Rage floods your system. The weak man reacts immediately, sabotaging relationships and opportunities. The free man notices the rage, examines its source, then responds in whatever manner advances his position. Create space between feeling and action. That space is where power lives. Emotions inform you. You command them. He who controls his reactions controls his destiny. Type this affirmation in the comment section. I feel everything and am controlled by nothing. 3. Accept that validation is a rigged game you can't win. The brutal truth. External validation is an addiction with infinite tolerance. The more you get, the more you need. The high gets shorter. The crash gets deeper. Weak people perform for applause. They curate their lives for approval. They shape themselves into whatever form gains the most likes, the most praise, the most acceptance, and they hollow out in the process. Why weak people fail. Their self-worth to an audience that's distracted, fickle, and ultimately indifferent. They build their identity on sand, then wonder why every wave destroys them. What Machiavelli would advise. The prince must sometimes act against mercy, against faith, against humanity to maintain power. Translation: your integrity cannot be a democracy where others vote on your worth. You post something vulnerable, it gets ignored. Your mood plummets. You delete it. You post something safer, it performs better. You learn the lesson. Be less real. Get more validation. Repeat until you don't recognize yourself. Validate yourself. Decide what you value. Then live accordingly. Let others' opinions be background noise, present but irrelevant. When you stop performing for the crowd, you stop being their puppet. Type this affirmation in the comment section. My worth is not determined by their recognition. 4. Detachment is not indifference. It's sovereignty. The brutal truth. You can care deeply without being controlled. You can love without being enslaved. Detachment doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means nothing controls you. Weak people think detachment is coldness. They confuse emotional availability with emotional dependency. They believe caring requires suffering. Why weak people fail. They can't separate connection from control. They think if you're not anxiously attached, you don't truly care. They've confused love with need. What Machiavelli would advise. Maintain strategic distance, even with allies. Affection is acceptable. Dependency is fatal. The moment your stability requires another's presence, you've surrendered your power. Your relationship ends. If your identity shatters, you were dependent. If you feel lost but remain whole, you were detached. One destroys you. The other teaches you. Build your foundation within yourself. Let others add to your life, not define it. Be complete, alone so relationships enhance. rather than complete you. The free man loves from abundance, not from need. Asterisk, type this affirmation in the comment section. I am whole within myself, complete in my solitude. 5. Understand that people will treat you according to what you tolerate. Asterisk, the brutal truth. Asterisk, you teach people how to treat you through what you accept. Every boundary violation you permit becomes the new baseline. Weak people sacrifice their standards to maintain relationships. They tolerate disrespect to avoid conflict. They accept crumbs and pretend they're feasts. Asterisk, why weak people fail? Abstinent, they fear loss more than they value dignity. They'd rather be disrespected and accompanied than honored and alone. They trade self-respect for company. Asterisk, what Machiavelli would advise. It is better to be feared for setting boundaries than loved for having none. Those who do not respect your limits do not respect you. Cut them loose without ceremony. Someone consistently cancels plans. You keep accepting their excuses because you fear losing them. Meanwhile, they learn you have no standards. Your availability becomes worthless because it's guaranteed. Enforce boundaries without anger or explanation. When people show you they don't value your time, believe them and adjust access accordingly. Respect yourself first. What you tolerate, you endorse. What you endorse, you become. Asterisk, type this affirmation in the comments section. I honor myself with uncompromising boundaries. 6. Accept that attachment to outcomes guarantees suffering. Asterisk, the brutal truth. Asterisk, the tighter you grip, the more it slips away. Desperation repels. Need suffocates. Attachment to specific outcomes transforms hope into torture. Weak people need things to unfold exactly as planned. They cling to specific timelines, specific people, specific results. When life deviates, they break. Asterisk, why weak people fail. Asterisk, they confuse goals with guarantees. They invest everything in one path, then collapse when that path closes. They lack adaptability because they lack detachment. Asterisk, what Machiavelli would advise. The wise prince has multiple strategies and remains flexible. He who depends on one outcome is vulnerable to fortune's whims. Pursue objectives, but don't marry methods. You fixate on one job, one person, one opportunity. You build your entire future around it. When it falls through, you have no plan B because you never accepted that plan A might fail. Hold your goals loosely. Pursue them relentlessly, but remain unattached to specific forms. If this door closes, find another. If this person leaves, continue forward. Your destination matters. The route is negotiable. Flexibility is strength. Rigidity is fragility disguised as commitment. Asterisk, type this affirmation in the comments section. I pursue my path without attachment to any single outcome. 7. Recognize that solitude is where power is forged. Asterisk, the brutal truth. Asterisk, you will never know yourself in the noise. You will never build strength in crowds. Power is forged in solitude, tested in chaos, proven in silence. Weak people fear being alone. They fill every silence with distraction. They surround themselves with people to avoid confronting themselves. Asterisk, why weak people fail. They never develop an internal compass because they're always looking to others for direction. They're terrified of their own company because they've never become someone worth spending time with. Asterisk, what Machiavelli would advise. Absolute, the prince must sometimes withdraw to think, plan, and fortify his position. He who cannot endure solitude cannot command others, for he first must command himself. Every moment alone, you reach for your phone. You text people who don't matter about things that don't matter because silence feels like death. You've become addicted to noise to avoid the clarity that solitude brings. Embrace solitude deliberately. Sit with yourself without distraction. The discomfort you feel is not loneliness, it's growth. In silence, you meet who you actually are beneath the performance. The strongest fortress is the one you build within yourself. Asterisks, type this affirmation in the comments section. I am powerful in solitude, complete in silence. You came here as someone who needed. You leave as someone who chooses. You came here controlled by expectations, emotions, and the validation of others. You leave mentally free. This is not a philosophy of isolation. This is a blueprint for sovereignty. You can still connect, still love, still care, but now you do it from a position of power, not desperation. Machiavelli's wisdom wasn't about cruelty, it was about clarity, about seeing human nature as it is, not as we wish it to be, about building power that cannot be taken because it was never dependent on others granting it. You are no longer a prisoner of other people's opinions. You are no longer a hostage to your own emotions. You are no longer a beggar for validation. You are *free, and freedom, once tasted, cannot be unlearned. Now go into the world detached, untouchable, sovereign. Type this affirmation in the comments section. I am mentally free, emotionally sovereign, and bound by nothing but my own will.